6.
You're almost done.
Almost. Video 6 is all about shepherding.
But what does shepherding actually mean? What does it actually look like?
Well, to answer that question, we're going to look at some examples in the Bible. Let's take a look first at David. David was a shepherd of Israel.
And David shepherded them with integrity of heart. With skillful hands he led them.
David led with character. He led with skill. He looked out for the welfare of his people, and David really knew his sheep, or the actual people of Israel.
And what about Jesus? He calls himself the Good Shepherd.
I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep.
Jesus was good to his sheep. He was good to the people he was around, and he even laid down his life for them and for us.
One final example is Peter, who Jesus called to be a shepherd of the early church.
When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you truly love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," he said. "You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Again Jesus said, "Simon, son of John, do you truly love me?" He answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Take care of my sheep." The third time he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, "Do you love me?" He said, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my sheep."
Just like Peter, we should care for our sheep because of our love for Jesus. Here's something that Peter wrote later on in 1 Peter. Listen to what it has to say.
To the elders among you, I appeal as a fellow elder, a witness of Christ's sufferings, and one who also will share in the glory to be revealed. Be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, serving as overseers, not because you must, but because you are willing, as God wants you to be. Not greedy for money, but eager to serve. Not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away.
Two main points that Peter has here are 1, shepherd willingly, and 2, do so as an example to your flock. Here are some key parts about shepherding.
First of all, pray and ask God for insight.
Second, men should shepherd men and women should shepherd women.
Thirdly, be sure to listen to what people say in your group, because that'll help you to know what to talk to them about outside of the group when you meet up with them one-on-one.
Fourth, make contact with each member of your group every week.
Number 5, help the group members to take the next step in spiritual growth, walking alongside them through highs and lows and throughout the year.
Sixthly, give them honest feedback.
Number 7, your community group is a great place to develop future leaders, so be intentional with them.
Number 8, multiply and reach out. Keep inviting people and keep serving.
And finally,
We're here to help.
So what is a shepherd? A shepherd is someone who cares for God's people.
Those are some key components of the shepherding process. Another key component is assessing if your group is growing toward the Lord.
Here are some examples of how past leaders have assessed the health of their group.
Not numbers. There have been a number of small groups in the past, meaning actually small groups, I guess, not to be confusing. So groups that, maybe had 3 people, which is, that's basically minimum for a group, to 7 people, and some of them are really, really great. So don't judge it on numbers.
A good gauge is if everyone is participating in their own way, whether that be participating in discussion or bringing snacks for the group, or by being available to help each other out during the week if they need to move, or help on homework or things like that.
Look at the relationships that you have with the people, the strength of those, the way that you're able to support one another. You can certainly look to the vulnerability that people show in the group as a great gauge, because if they're open and honest with who they are, both their successes and their failures in life, then that just shows you that they're comfortable.
We really just observed, the relationships in our group, and one way we gauged its health was observing how people related at the group, the tone of the conversation, if there were certain people who would get kind of fired up, or noticing if other people looked like they had been kind of diminished because of the conversation. And personally, as leaders or as the leadership team in our group, trying to connect with people afterwards just to see what they thought about things.
Well, you're going to have different personalities. Some people just won't talk as much, and some will.
On the days that the people that usually like to talk didn't talk, I could kind of get a feel for what was going on in their lives.
We had medical exams weekly, actually, checkup, temperature. It was taken, and that way we could make sure everybody was healthy.
Yeah, I would say you want to really follow up on people. If they don't show up, call them and ask them why. Or maybe beforehand, like the day before or the day of, just call them up and see if they're coming out and invite them again and again and again. And I think consistency and showing up will put in a lot to the health of the group.
We saw a lot of health in the group on the night we studied because of those outside times when people could connect with each other. Just allowed for more vulnerability and a safer experience in the community groups because they got to know each other outside of the group.
Everything is based on relationships. If people don't want to be together and aren't having fun together, they don't want to be there. And so you want to make things as engaging and as fun as possible while still making it an enriching time, so that they really feel value and growth as a part of the time that they put in. And so ensuring that those were in place, I felt would help keep a healthy group going.
Really, the more personal you can be in your connection, the better.
It wasn't really a goal, and I would say looking back that's like a real shame, and it was a real sort of learning experience that's a big part of being in a small group. And if you don't really work at the communication, which isn't easy for most people, then your group's not going to do as well as it could.
We had outside interaction, both just seeing people on campus, but then also in church, both at CCF and at First Baptist.
It is if you're actually doing things with these people throughout the week, such as worship, or we did prayer groups throughout the week, and a lot of people from our community group would go to those. Finding things that you guys have in common that you like to do, playing sports, going on walks, going on hikes, whatever it may be.
Making sure that that they knew that your relationship goes beyond simply that hour or 2 hours you spend on 1 week, and that you do care about them beyond what they bring to a Bible study.
We had like a few key people who were kind of the leadership team in our group, and they had the job to spread the word, like in CCF on Sunday nights if we were going to be doing something that week, just to do the word of mouth part. But we also used like email and Facebook, and probably called people also. I
really struggled, and I would say failed in a lot of ways, because that's just totally not me. I'm not a communicator. I don't like to be on the phone all the time. I don't do emails all the time. But the simplest, shortest phone call, or the hey, how's it going on Facebook or something, means the world to some people.